What is up, YouTube? Hobidon here, and today I'm back with another reaction video for all of you. And today we're doing another reaction video to Linkara, Atop the Fourth Wall. And this is requested on Patreon by Nevin Punzel. We're going to be doing Linkara's review on Spider-Man One More Day. Oh boy, I do not like Spider-Man One More Day. And this is part 1 apparently. Yeah, this is going to be one of the Spider-Man's worst days of his life. Because Joe Quesada hated the idea that Spider-Man and Mary Jane being married and wanted to get rid of their marriage permanently. Because he thought it would make Peter Parker too old, and Peter Parker being married is not interesting, despite the fact we had plenty of stories of Peter and MJ, they're being together, and great stories where they are together and how they overcome the impossible. And Joe Quesada thought they wanted to get rid of his marriage to make Peter Parker free and still live with his Aunt May, and the effects of One More Day has been happening since now. Peter's life is completely miserable. They have written Mary Jane to be unlikable. They hate Mary Jane Watson as a character, so they changed her characterization to be basically the opposite of what she used to be before One More Day was a thing. Now they made Mary Jane a terrible person who hates Eddie Brock, wishing Eddie Brock to die and hope that he stays in prison forever, despite Eddie Brock pretty much saved her life by Red Goblin and saved Peter Parker's life in the current Spiral, which is a Spiral series, which is not a good comic book. Don't get that comic, guys. Do not get the Spiral story, or the one where Eddie Brock is Carnage, Mary Jane is Venom, and Peter has to team with them to fight this Torment guy. The Torment character is terrible. His motivation is terrible. Honestly, he should have been a Punisher villain, not a Spider-Man villain. And another excuse to keep Peter Parker and Mary Jane separate from each other. Mary Jane hates Peter Parker because she finds Peter Parker as a selfish person who thinks about himself, which shows how much the writers in Marvel Editorial do not know how to write these characters. They don't know how to write these characters, but they just find an excuse to double down on bad writing just to make Spider-Man's miserable. And they think being miserable is relatable. They don't know the definition of it is. They're very stupid. So for my advice, go play Marvel Rivals. Their lore is better than what 616 is. And the fact that they canceled the Ultimate Universe because they hate the idea that Peter and MJ are married and got 2 kids, they did that to end that series. In Endgame, the Maker has killed that Peter Parker. So Mary Jane has lost a husband in that universe, which sucks. And those 2 kids lost their father. And they killed Captain America. Apparently, on the same day, Captain America 616 and the Ultimate Universe dies. Captain America dies saving a kid and was sent to hell with Doctor Doom. And Captain America gets in the new Ultimate Universe gets killed by an evil version of Captain Britain with a sword who can slice through his vibranium shield, and he cuts Captain America's head off with such glee, saying that he loves fighting unfair. They killed Steve Rogers. I think Marvel Editorial is trying to tell us they hate Steve Rogers as well. They hate good people. I don't know what's going on with Marvel Editorial, but they're not cooking. And Marvel Entertainment, Marvel Studios, it seems they hate the Punisher in some ways. I don't know what they're doing with their stories, but other than that, let's get on this reaction. I'm tired of this rambling. Support the official release, support Linkara, support this video. I'm done with my talking. Let's get on this reaction. I just want to share my thoughts on what's going on here, because I really hate One More Day. I don't like the story. I don't care if some parts are well written, but I just don't like what they did to this character. This damaged Spider-Man's characterization for years. Let's get on to it. 3, 2, 1. Support the official release. Let's do it to it. Linkara recently began his journey to find a way to restore his magic gun to life. He is in good health.
I am so lost!
Okay. Okay, because of this journey, this 200th episode.
Well, we made it, people. 200 episodes. So what can I possibly review for such an occasion?
Oh.
Okay, what the hell. Let's review One More Day.
This happened 10 years ago. Congrats, man.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're
not the smartest. You're not an artist. Only publish. It can be your turn. Linkara. Gun. Where he purchased that? I remember that line. Linkara. This comic sucks. Linkara. Oh wow. Oh, the theme, whole theme. Someone's gotta do it. Wow. Oh wow, this is a full, they actually made a full theme of this. Of course, don't you know anything about science line. One more day.
One day more. Another day, another destiny. This never-ending road to Calvary.
If there's a single story that has hung over this show since the first episode, it's One More Day. Spider-Man literally makes a deal with the devil. Yeah, these days, heroes have to make deals with the devil. Wife he can come home to. Oh, wait. He should make a deal with Mephisto.
Wow.
Since Mephisto... Maybe it was Mephisto. I'll get on the hotline to Mephisto. Like One More Day. JMS and One More Day. Why I hate One More Day. Considering my own thing with One More Day. Spider-Man and Mary Jane's little tryst with Satan traded life with her for life with his dying aunt to the devil. So of course
you
they
were
had to
building
have
up
the
to
devil.
this.
Spider-Man's deal with the devil, making a deal with the literal devil. Please, I've consorted with Satan. Spider-Man makes a deal with the devil. I hate you. Yeah, I think I might have brought it up once or twice. The more nitpicky among you may also recall that I've stated that my only problem with the book was the ending, and the rest of it was fine. Others will say that it's completely unnecessary, since I've technically already reviewed the comic in my Top 15 Comics I'll Never Review episode, wherein I spoke for 5 minutes about the thing that angered me so about this story. Well, first of all, that's not really a review, that's me ranting about a plot point. Secondly, I decided to take another look at it, and you know what? There's a hell of a lot more that's wrong with this crap than just the ending. And I'm sure there is one other complaint that people would have with me doing this. That would be, come on, Linkara, it's been 5 years since One More Day. Are you still not over this? Nope! Not at all! However, even if I was over it, there's one underlying problem. It's still a bad story. It was a bad story in 2007, and it's a bad story now. Cry for Justice sucked in 2009, and it still sucks now. Youngblood sucked in 1992, and it still sucks now. And guess what? This is Atop the Fourth Wall where bad comics burn. Let's dig into Spider-Man One More Day and break down why this thing sucks. I'm reading from a trade, so no analysis of the covers. However, the covers are where you will find my few compliments to this book. The first 3 parts feature kind of a retro style to them with exaggerated melodramatic captions. The 4th book avoids that, but has great symbolism on the broken picture of him and Mary Jane, kind of echoing that broken photo from the cover of Identity Crisis. It's just a good image to use for this. Now, before we get into the book itself, there's a lot of backstory to cover here, so I think it's necessary.
Hello, Linkara. It is I, the devil.
Oh, hi,
wow.
Bennett.
Not Bennett, the devil. I have come to you with an offer
To exchange my soul, or my show, or my non-existent marriage to erase one more day, right?
Well, yeah,
Not interested. Goodbye.
Ugh, come on, man. I went and put on the outfit. Can you play out the bit?
The bit is dead, Bennett! Not to mention, the
Okay,
deal doesn't
then.
take place for another 3 issues. You can make the offer again when it actually comes up in the comic.
Oh, okay. See you then.
So, anyway,
That's the events of
backstory. In
Civil War.
2006, Marvel released its standard big crossover event, Civil War. The premise is that after an incident involving superheroes results in the deaths of 600 people, including
In
60
Stanford,
children, the
the
American
Stanford
government
incident.
rushes out a Superhero Registration Act that forces all superheroes to reveal their identities to the government and officially fall under federal mandate. Iron Man led the charge in the pro-registration camp, while Captain America led a faction of heroes who opposed it. Civil War has a
Yeah,
lot
this was
of
one of the.
problems.
Yes, it does. A lot of characters has been mischaracterized. Mostly Tony Stark and Reed Richards and Reed Richards. They this Civil War made fans back in the day hate Iron Man. Iron Man was not a likable character, and fans hated Iron Man. Fans hated Reed Richards, and it kind of ruined the Fantastic Four's reputation as well. And yeah, Civil War did not do well for people.
Not the least of which being that Marvel refused to actually say what the Superhuman Registration Act stated, leading to different books interpreting it differently. Now, Marvel's excuse was that the act was just so long and complicated that there was no way to release it in full and could be interpreted in different ways, but I call bullcrap on that. It's lazy writing, plain and simple.
Pretty
The other
much.
big problem with the book was the ending. Despite the fact that the pro-registration side was vilified throughout not only the main book, but also the tie-ins, the book ended with the pro-registration side winning, and follow-up interviews stated that they were supposed to be the right side all along. I haven't decided yet if I'm ever going to do a full review of Civil War, mostly because it's a very polarizing, politically charged book, but
Well, there's a certain YouTuber who I have been following who is doing Civil War, and his name is Smokey's Comic Vault. He's doing a whole review on Civil War right now, and he just got to the part where Peter reveals his identity to the world. So yeah, so you don't have to worry about that. But then again, that's up to you, Linkara. Maybe maybe 10 this video did upload 10 years ago, so you might have done it in those 10 years to now. So yeah.
needless to say, it's not very good. Now, where does Spidey fit into
True.
all of this? Well, to make a long story short,
I do the story. If I want to play Civil War, if I want to go through the events of Civil War, I play Ultimate Alliance 2. Ultimate Alliance 2 is basically the Civil War event. You can actually choose if you want to register or not. For me, when I play Spider-Man and Wolverine on my team, I have them not register. The idea of Peter Parker registering to work to reveal his identity to the world, yeah, you can make that decision. Interesting dialogue as what ifs. And the story doesn't end with the heroes fighting in New York, where leading to Captain America's death after he surrendered. It leads to where a unknown villain has taken over the villains who are controlled by nanites, and it forces Iron Man and Captain America's team to work together and listen to the real Nick Fury to stop the nanite invasion. And yeah, and they basically shut down the heroes registration check in that universe. And I'm working on my own series where the events of Civil War from Ultimate Alliance 2 do happen in my own Marvel universe, where Peter does not reveal his identity. Ben Reilly does, because my version of Ben Reilly is is still alive, unlike the 616, he registers and reveals his identity to the world as Spider-Man, making Peter's identity stay intact, and Peter would join Team Captain America, trying to keep the peace before both Ben and Peter keeping the peace on both sides until the nanite invasion. That's where they all got to work together and stop the nanite invasion. A rogue Nick Fury robot taking over and leading the charge of these nanite infested criminals, super criminals, and they save the world there. That's how I do my Civil War. If y'all like that, let me know in the comments down below. What were your thoughts? What were your thoughts on my idea? I'm still working on the project.
Aunt May had discovered Peter's identity as Spider-Man, and after an incident where their home had been destroyed, Tony Stark invited Peter, Mary Jane, and Aunt May to live in Avengers Tower. Spidey was also a member of the Avengers at the time. Tony convinced Peter that the pro-registration side was the right thing to do, and that with the resources of the government...
To be accurate, Aunt May convinced Peter it would be the right thing to do since she wanted the world to see him how she saw him. Aunt May wanted Mary. So I had to do some workarounds for my story when it comes to that. Aunt May tries to convince Peter to reveal his identity because she wants the whole world to see how much of a hero Peter is. That's when that's when my Ben Riley steps in. There, he doesn't want Peter to reveal his identity. That Peter is a hero. He is aware of that, but he doesn't. But he's also thinking about the safety. My version of Ben Riley is taking sense because he's also a Peter Parker. And Peter Parker would talk with Ben Riley before they do the revealing. They realize, okay, I'll go to hiding. I'll help Captain America and save some people's lives. You join the registration on Iron Man and help sure he doesn't go too far. And they agreed. But so I had to do some reworking on that.
Government,
for my
he'd be
story.
able to protect him, Mary Jane, and May from any villains who would seek revenge against them. As such, he publicly unmasked to the entire world. However, for reasons I can't quite recall, he eventually turns on the pro-registration side and runs away with MJ and May.
In all fair, and that happened, it's mostly because Iron Man was secretly spying on Peter and MJ ever since he was registered. And Iron Man almost tried to kill him. Bad writing at its finest. He was saved by the Punisher. It brought him to Team Captain America's team and joined Captain America.
While staying at a motel, a sniper hired by the Kingpin attempts to assassinate Peter, but instead shoots and injures Aunt May. And that's where we're at. Peter is a well-known fugitive, Aunt May is clinging to life for the gajillionth time, and during this time, Peter put his black costume back on again, and then took it off, because Spider-Man 3 had just happened. Yeah, the movies still screw around with stuff like this all the time.
Oh, I forgot.
We begin with
I forgot Spider-Man 3 was a thing during the events of this. I forgot about that.
Amazing Spider-Man number 544, where a red bird is flying around the night sky. Tune your ear to the frequency of despair and cross-reference by the longitude and latitude of a heart in agony. Listen, listen.
Okay. That was
First sentence!
Yeah.
That is one of the dumbest, most overwritten, nonsensical sentences ever put into a mainstream story. This is punk is nothing but death, crime, and the rage of a beast level of what the hell were you thinking? Tune your ear to the frequency of despair? What the Sam flippin' hell is that supposed to mean? Cross-referenced by the longitude and latitude of a heart in agony? So we're trying to track something on a map now? What? Is this still connected to the frequency of despair? What does an audio frequency have to do with map coordinates of a heart in agony? And finally, most important of all, this comic tells us to tune our ears and listen, listen. Kind of confusing instructions considering this is a comic book which we read with our eyes! The rest of the page shows the bird approaching a hospital and Peter narrating about what happened with Aunt May, rightfully pointing out that he should have skipped town. I'd give anything do anything to bring her back from the edge, to have just one more day with her. And that's a lie, because in another comic, you spend time with her in mental projection form, where she tells you to let her go, and you ignore her instructions. Consistency! You suck at it!
Y'all know why Marvel Editorial will not let Aunt May die, because according to them, if Aunt May was gone, it would make Peter Parker too old. They need to keep Peter Parker relatable to children. Keep in mind, Aunt May is still alive. They de-aged her. She's over 100 years old, so they de-aged her to be somewhat like 70, just to live longer. And Peter's in his 30s. It's really stupid. It's really, really, really stupid. They de-age Aunt May, and she's still alive. Peter's still in his 30s. They thought if Aunt May, it would make Peter Parker too old if Aunt May was gone. This woman has died multiple times and come back to life, and because Marvel Editorial will not let her go.
Worlds turn on such thoughts. No, they don't.
Yeah.
Because the universe hears them. I refer you to my last remark. In the hospital,
Agreed.
Aunt May lies in bed with life support equipment attached to her. Joe Quesada himself did the artwork for One More Day, and I admit there are
Joe Quesada is the reason why One More Day is a thing, and Joe Quesada really hated Peter and MJ being married, so that's why this story happened.
some shots that really do work. This one, despite some wonky perspective and proportions, is one of them. What doesn't work is the writing, wherein Peter whines yet again that this is all his fault. We'll get into that a bit later. In the meantime, the doctor goes up to them and explains that, unfortunately, because she doesn't have any insurance, they're gonna have to move her to the charity care ward. Peter is indignant about it, but the doctor points out that they're just barely picking up brain function,
just to make it dramatic.
so chances are she's pretty much dead anyway. If you had some kind of health insurance, that would be one thing. A bottomless checkbook would be even better.
I mean, if we only had a wheelbarrow, that would be something.
Yeah. Just to rub it in that Peter is broke. Which Iron Man in this time during those events is pretty much a jerk and will not help at all. It's weird.
Peter decides to go see a man with a bottomless checkbook. The doctor chases after him as he starts to leave. Just a minute. What? I just wanted to say I know what you're feeling, and you have no idea what I'm feeling. No one has ever lost a loved one before me! You know, I seriously considered reading all of Peter Parker's lines in the Superboy Prime voice. It really does come across as that selfish and whiny.
Yeah,
the doctor
it does.
Explains that Spider-Man once saved his uncle's life and that he promised he'd repay the favor one day. He shows Peter the newspaper of his unmasking, revealing he knows who he really is. Wait, where the hell did that paper come from? Was he just carrying that around with him everywhere? Anyway, he says he can't do anything to actually get her any big procedure, but he can stall putting Aunt May off into a charity ward or anything until he comes back. Peter swings through the city, narrating that he doesn't give a damn about not having the costume on, since everyone knows what he looks like anyway. Strange that nobody else in the hospital recognized him then, or did the mustachioed Dr. Kelso back at the hospital cover his face as he was going in with May? I also noticed the red Mephisto bird right there. I can't help but wonder if Marvel ever considered doing a what-if story where Peter swings right into the bird and accidentally smashes it against some glass. Anyway, he arrives at Stark Tower and makes a big scene, breaking into Stark's office from the air vents. Naturally, Tony Stark is a genius and is already way ahead of him, armoring up and smacks right into Peter, knocking him out a window.
Peter, you have an IQ of 250, stated by Reed Richards. You should have thought the idea that Tony would do something like this.
Instead of trying to talk to Tony, he just webs up his engines, forcing the two of them to crash. Iron Man points out the fact that that little stunt could have gotten them both killed. Wanted to make sure you didn't fly off before I was done with you. And then I'd break my own spine so I couldn't leave either. Wait. Iron Man tries to arrest Peter, but to make a long story short, Peter webs up Iron Man into a giant cocoon. He then rips off Tony's mask so the two can talk. Aunt May is dying! She's dying and it's your fault! I trusted you! I let you get close to me! You were like a father to me! Really, no. He wasn't. Anyway, he keeps ranting that this is all
really.
Tony's fault and that he needs to go help Aunt May since she was an innocent in all of this. Wait, weren't you ranting earlier that this was all your fault, Peter? Look, I know you're still in the anger stage of grief, but at least make up your mind who you're blaming for all of this. Tony, unfortunately, refuses for the dumbest of reasons. Any direct help I gave to you could be tracked back to me. I could be held liable for aiding and abetting a known criminal. She's an old woman who got shot in the chest!
That's a very, very dumb reason why Tony Stark will not help her, will not help save Aunt May. When I'm writing this story for my Civil War, for my Marvel universe, yeah, this never happened to avoid this kind of stupidity. My Tony Stark, when he supported the registration, he realized how much he hated it. My version of Tony hated the registration because Maria Hill is the one who pushes it, similar to how Earth's Mightiest Heroes. And he knew this, and he managed to make things right for all the other heroes. Aunt May doesn't get shot. Peter's identity is safe. Ben Reilly is mostly targeted for his identity in my universe. And they managed to fix that with Doctor Strange magic. Everyone forget that Ben Reilly is Spider-Man. Well, it doesn't work on Peter and MJ because they know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but the world thinks that Ben Reilly is Spider-Man. But the whole world's mind got wiped, and that's how it goes.
I don't think anybody's gonna be that pissed that you paid for her medical care. And by the way, I'm pretty sure that she's not the wanted fugitive. It would undermine everything I've been trying to build since the war. No, it really wouldn't.
No, it doesn't.
In fact, I think anyone who criticized your decision to help her would, in reality, look like the bigger douchebag for saying so. An innocent old woman was shot in the chest by a sniper because she happened to be related to a person who has saved thousands, if not millions of lives. Let her die. But actually, let's turn this around, shall we? There is a very easy solution to this, one that either of them could suggest. Hell, there was absolutely no reason for Peter to go in all brazen and pissy like he did when he could have just knocked on the window.
Honestly, Marvel Editorial treats Peter Parker as a man-child. Despite Peter Parker is in his 30s with an IQ of 250. And Marvel Editorial treats him like he's 15 years old in a man's body. They treat him like a man-child because they don't know how to write adults, apparently.
And done this,
a grown-up Peter Parker.
Peter could offer to be arrested. He could willingly surrender himself to the authorities as long as May gets treatment. But you see, he can't do that, because that would involve taking responsibility for what he's done. Allow me to share a revelation I've had. For all of his
it's like
bluster
Marvel Editorial
about,
doesn't want Peter to take responsibility.
Great responsibility. Peter Parker is one of the most irresponsible superheroes ever. He never learns from his mistakes, never takes into consideration how his life as Spider-Man affects everybody else. Now, some would say that's the core concept of the character, the constant struggle between the mask and the man. But he never actually gives any consideration to the man, preferring to make excuses about it. He disappoints people around him all the time because something more important was happening as Spider-Man. But instead of trying to find ways to balance his two lives properly, he will go out of his way to make excuses and just be sad that being Spider-Man hurt his personal life. If he places more importance on being Spider-Man, then he should distance himself from relationships that would hurt that. If he places more emphasis on being Peter Parker, he needs to sacrifice his time as Spider-Man. Now, that's not always going to be the case for everyone in the real world. But Peter never actually changes as a result of his actions.
That's right.
He just makes the same mistakes over and over. During a storyline called The Other, when Peter was dying from an untraceable condition, this was also written by JMS, by the way, he admits that he doesn't even have life insurance. Peter has never made a plan about what would happen to his family if he were killed by a super.
Yeah, Peter. This thing about Peter Parker, he has no other family. When Peter Parker dies, that's it. He has no legacy to carry on his bloodline. No children. He's gonna die alone. No wife, no kids, no relatives. His Aunt May is his Aunt May is a Riley. She married into the Parker family. She married Uncle Ben. Even though she is not blood related to Peter Parker, she is still Peter's aunt. Even though they're not by blood, they're still considered family. She is the only family member he has. The world, like, Peter has no uncles. Peter Parker has no other uncles. He has no mother and father. He has, well, his mother and father did die, was killed in a war in a mission. Uh, Peter has no relative, no other aunts or uncles or siblings or cousins. Peter is all alone with just his Aunt May, and the one he has a sister. They retcon it saying that she's not his real sister, and they retcon it saying that that she's not his real sister. So he doesn't have a sister. Peter's all alone. When Peter Parker dies, that's it. That's it. There's no one to carry the legacy. Nowadays, the bloodline, basically, the bloodline. The legacy of Spider-Man, oh, that's gone. That's thrown to Miles Morales. Miles Morales is going to be the new Spider-Man, if Peter Parker dies. And they got a whole lot of Spider people: Silk, Spider Woman, Jessica Drew, Spider Woman, Anya Cornez. They made Dan Slott created Spider Boy and Spider Girl because they want to make another Spider Girl just to avoid Peter Parker's and MJ's daughter to never be born in 616. Um, there's a whole lot of Cindy Moon, Silk. There's too many Spider people nowadays. So Peter is treated as the other guy and treated as the idiot that people hate. That all the heroes hate Spider-Man, Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Even the Fantastic Four hates Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Storm wants to kill Peter Parker slash Spider-Man because she hates him and finds him annoying, but she loves Miles Morales. Maybe because they're black, apparently. Because Storm likes Miles more than Peter because they're both black. I hope that's not the case. I hope that's not the case. It's dumb writing. I blame Marvel editorial how badly they treat Spider-Man in the main continuity and all other continuities, saying that Peter Parker has to be miserable, alone, with no good thing happening in his life. He has not won a single fight without being bailed out by someone saving his life in the modern era of comics. In the Zeb Wells run and the Joe Kelly run. Joe Kelly run and the Zeb Wells run, Peter has not won a single fight by himself, and it's sad. Oh wait, there's this one time he did win a fight against the guy in space. But that's just one. Everything else, nah, you gotta get help. You gotta be saved.
Supervillain. He's never thought about the repercussions of his life if he should be maimed or killed while wearing the costume, to his wife or to his constantly dying aunt. In a recent issue of Avengers Academy, a group of teenage
That's the issue I
superheroes
would
thought of
fix.
several ways that he could have capitalized on being Spider-Man without revealing his identity to anyone. Now, admittedly, he was just a young, dumb teenager when he started out and didn't think of those things. But Peter is and has been an adult for decades now. Forget about whether you like Spidey being married or not. The character himself still seems to operate like he's in high school, never growing up, never seems to recognize adult relationships, and never actually taking responsibility for his life. And
Marvel editorial treats Spider-Man like he's a 15-year-old kid in the body of a 30-year-old man. That's how Marvel editorial treats him. He still can't talk to girls properly. You're 30 years old, Peter, in current days, and you still can't talk to girls properly. Still can't even get a job. You got an IQ of 250. You can make inventions on your own. You're smart enough to learn a lot. But Marvel editorial seems to forget, oh wait, Peter's not a genius. If he wasn't a genius, then he would not be able to create the web shooters, the web fluid, and all the gadgets that he made. Now he lost his job because Ben Riley kind of took his position and ruined his job position. Great. What job is Peter gonna get? Nothing. Peter's jobless. How is he gonna even afford the stuff that to do what he has to do? Even Batman has to needs money to do what he needs to do for his gear. They try to take away his company, his money through the Joker Wars, and it was a terrible idea. So they brought that back for Batman. Although DC still refused to bring Alfred back to life.
And the choices he's made. This is one of the reasons I decided to finally review One More Day. The deal with Mephisto is symptomatic of a bigger problem for the character and the people who write him. The unwillingness for the character to become an adult. He's supposed to be roughly 25 years old at the time of this story, maybe closer to 30, and yet he repeatedly approaches his problems like a 16-year-old would, and is
Correct.
never actually prepared to act like a mature adult. I've made several jokes in the last 200 episodes about how Peter Parker's life is an endless spiral of shame and misery, what with his friends and loved ones dying all around him or becoming supervillains because of his life as Spider-Man. And I mean it. The truth is that if Peter Parker ever cared about taking responsibility for his actions, he would have given up being Spider-Man a long time ago.
Agreed.
But hey,
That is why we have creative fans who knows what they're doing and know how to write a good Spider-Man story way better than the Marvel editorial. I'm one of those fans who can write a better Spider-Man story than Marvel editorial, and I'm already working on my project. My version of Peter is 30 years old. Same IQ level as 616 Peter. He's married to MJ. He has 2 kids, and his and he operates in New York as the only Spider-Man. Ben Riley, he is married to Gwen Stacy. The death of Gwen Stacy happens to be a clone because I realized Miles Warren would like to keep the real Gwen Stacy all to himself and throw this clone of Gwen Stacy out in the world. Is it like she's not missing while he keeps the real Gwen Stacy all to herself? Because Miles Warren is a creep. Let's be real here. Miles Warren is a creep. His obsession with Gwen Stacy. Ben Riley would wake up, fights back against Miles Warren, finds the real Gwen Stacy, frees her, and the moment they meet up with Peter, he's married to MJ already. So after the events of Civil War was over, and Ben Riley got the whole world to forget that Ben Riley is Spider-Man and Peter's identity is still safe, Ben Riley would sooner or later marry Gwen Stacy and they move to Los Angeles. I like the idea that there was a comic where Ben Riley was Spider-Man of Los Angeles. And I thought, hey, let's move him to Los Angeles. I like Bailey Briggs. I like the kid, Spider-Boy. But I don't like the idea that him being Peter Parker's sidekick, I would make him Ben Riley's sidekick. And they would move to Los Angeles after finding his mom, and his friends would move to Los Angeles. And they would still communicate with each other. Ben Riley would be next door neighbors to Gwen and Ben, with Gwen Stacy and Ben Riley. And they would operate all over Los Angeles. Some of the Spider-Man villains would be moved to Los Angeles because they're trying to escape from Spider-Man, only to realize, oh no, there's another Spider-Man here. Now we got to deal with this guy. That's my story. That's just my idea. That's just my idea. It's my idea. You can take elements from my idea. I'm happy to share. You can take elements of, if you're making your own Spider-Man story, you can take elements of that. I'm happy to share it. That's the thing about creativity. You can create your own and don't have to deal with your own bull crap of Marvel editorials, being stupid in their writing, because hey, they already ruined the main 616. Might as well create your own Spider-Man universe, your own Marvel universe. That's the thing about being a fan. You can have fun and be creative with the writing and the storytelling and the world building. Just come up with the designs and just have fun with it. Be creative. There are no mistakes when it comes to art.
maybe that's just the reasoning of a jaded individual looking at this stupid-ass comic in hindsight.
Pretty
Of
much.
course I don't want Peter Parker to stop being Spider-Man. What I want is for him to be written like a goddamn adult already. But the writers, and Marvel Editorial, seem to steadfastly refuse to let that happen. Spider-Man is just escapist fantasy to them. The reason why they don't think there's drama in marriage is because marriage is an aspect of real life, and they don't want the escapism of Peter Parker swinging through the air and stopping bad guys being infected with the drama of things that people have to endure in the real world. And that's just hilarious, since Spider-Man is supposed to be the character who does face the real-life challenges of the world. That was what made his character so appealing to begin with, his ability to relate to the reader.
That's true.
But the truth is that the reader has grown up. The reader got married, had kids, has relatives that die, and they have to move on. The reader changed, but Peter Parker has not. You know, recently there was a rumor that Marvel was doing its own reboot to compete with the one DC did last year. They're not, of course. They're just releasing a whole bunch of new #1s. But you know what?
That's true.
Maybe they should reboot Spider-Man. After all, if the creative teams are unwilling to let him get out of his high school life, then why the hell isn't he still there?
Hello, Linkara.
Last Angry Geek?
No, it's Coke #1.
Oh, right, you're a different character from him. People have been confused about that.
They think that's confusing? Why am I suddenly one of your bad guys when you weren't even in the group I was harassing in Suburban Nights?
What is happening
Would
right
it
now?
make more sense if I were this guy?
I am a creature of the ancient world. I demand respect.
Wait, what the hell is that?
Okay.
Well, Spoonie destroyed my original one, and this is my backup.
Oh, get out! Anyway, Linkara, I've got an offer to make to you. I can make one more day disappear forever, and then...
Sure you can! And if One More Day never existed, that would mean I never did a crossover with The Last Angry Geek about One Moment in Time, right?
You got a point.
I'll call you back.
You got a point.
Anyway, enough of my rambling. Back to the comic. Tony Stark arrives back to his tower and finds a photo taped to his wall of him celebrating with Peter, MJ, and May at some party. Damn it, I really need to stop taping random, ironic, sepia-toned photographs to my walls. Jarvis, the Avengers' butler, walks in and asks him if he needs anything. Tony tells him there is one thing he can do, and we cut back to the hospital, where Jarvis is arriving, claiming to be May's cousin. And naturally, he has brought a bottomless checkbook. There's a good moment where Jarvis has to stop and collect himself. See, he and May were developing a relationship in the pages of Amazing Spider-Man. We'll bring that up again later. However, the doctor says that at her age, there really isn't anything else they can do. Son, there's nothing humanly possible to stop her from dying. Damn it! If only we knew a way to treat a gunshot wound to the chest! Curse you, medical science!
I thought it was to the
Peter
belly.
leaves again, saying he'll find somebody out there who can help, ending the issue with him swinging off as Spider-Man. So the truth here is that this entire issue accomplished nothing, since we're right back where we started. He also has the costume on now, even though he said earlier he's not playing games, and it doesn't matter. Wow, a full quarter of the way through the story,
Got him
and
swinging
nothing
again.
has happened.
Here's a good idea. Have a point.
Part
Yeah.
2 opens with Spidey swinging towards what appears to be an abandoned building. In reality, it's the home of Doctor Strange, who is still in hiding after the events of Civil War.
Yeah, Doctor Strange did not want anything to do with the events of Civil War because he knew this kind of crap would happen.
I have to see you, Doc. It's a matter of life and death. It is never anything less that brings someone to my door. Yes, even for the mailman. Spidey explains what's happening and was hoping
I like
that
to see the
Magic would
mailman's
offer some
experience
assistance.
with Doctor Strange's
Instead,
home.
Doctor Strange feels the need to talk about his origin story. Long ago, my hands were shattered in an accident, rendered useless for someone who wished to be a doctor, a surgeon, a healer, a dental technician, a nutritionist, a reconstructive urologist.
Where you going with this,
I
Strange?
searched the world for someone who could fix them. My quest took me to the Himalayas, where I met the man who I would one day call Master. Until that time, I called him Larry. He told me that there
You
are
mean the
limits
ancient
to
one.
what even a sorcerer supreme can do.
it's funny enough. The Ancient One is an Asian sorcerer who is the Sorcerer Supreme who taught Doctor Strange these powers. I don't know why the MCU changed it to be a white woman who was bald, and because they thought, oh, they say having an Asian man would be too racist and too much of a kung fu action movie. I'm like, and I'm like, no, no, just be. But then again, it's very. I don't know what MC was thinking back then.
He could not fix my hands, but he could give me a purpose and the chance to save lives. Had he simply healed me, there would have been no one to stand between the forces of dark and light when intercession was most needed. Who knows what could happen if the McRib became a permanent menu item? Then again, this is stupid beyond belief. Not only is this guy the master of the mystic arts, but he's a skilled neurosurgeon of the highest caliber. And don't give me any crap about how his hands don't work for surgery anymore. He can't conjure up magical telekinetic hands to do it for him. He can't cast a spell to take over the body of someone else and use their perfectly good hands. Or hell, he can't just consult and advise on a procedure? Oh no! Bullet wounds are completely outside of his power! What a...
Yeah, that's stupid. That's a stupid thing. Doctor Strange, you have the Sorcerer Supreme, you're a master surgeon, and you can't heal, you can't remove a bullet out of an old lady. And your hands should be healed by now with your magic over the years, because you've been using your hands to do magic all the time. And yet you still can't do so, which is very, very dumb. And, I'm sorry, I can't do it because some dumb purpose. Ugh, it's so stupid.
A load. Peter says he'd be able to accept this if she died peacefully in her bed, but since this is his fault, he refuses to let it happen. Dead is dead, Peter. With the way you're acting, even if she had died in bed, I can only imagine that you'd be dragging her corpse around everywhere trying to find a zombie spell. Oh, but it gets better, my friends. Doctor Strange isn't capable of healing a bullet wound, but he is able to break the laws of space and time so Spidey can visit multiple places in the world at the same time to consult everyone he needs to in the hope of finding someone who can help Aunt May. This is truly incredible, people. He sees Mr. Fantastic, who can build dimensional portals but not heal bullet wounds. He visits Hank Pym, who can make
Reed Richards, the smartest character in the Marvel universe, until Fox Century kind of ruined the Fantastic Four, and Disney does not want to promote the Fantastic Four at all because of Fox Century, and created Moon Girl, where she takes the title as smartest character in the Marvel universe, mostly because Fox Century being idiots.
Make himself grow or shrink, but not heal bullet wounds.
Hank Pym does not want to help, despite the fact he can shrink to very small size. It's crazy.
He visits the Black Panther, whose country that he runs is the most technologically advanced in the world, which includes medical technology.
Even Black Panther, the king of Wakanda, apparently the people of Wakanda can't heal an old lady with a bullet wound. That is stupid.
But he can't help heal a bullet wound. None of them can help.
This is some dumb writing. Not even Morbius. Not even Doctor Doom. Despite the fact, if you hear, oh, Reed can't do it, then I can't do it. You eager. Oh, Doom, Doctor Doom can't save Peter Parker's Aunt May from a bullet wound. That is sad. All these smart characters in the Marvel universe, and they can't save an old lady with a bullet. It's terrible writing.
He even visits Dr. Octopus and Dr. Doom. The answer is the same from all of them. There's nothing they can do to help. This is insanity! I could see Dr. Octopus being able to help, but refusing because he hates Spider-Man.
That I can see. That I can agree. Because Dr. Octavius does have somewhat feelings towards his Aunt May, which is weird. But refusing to help because of his hatred towards Spider-Man, that's understandable.
But Doctor Doom? Come on! This is the kind of bullcrap he lives for. He would make Peter grovel and talk about how awesome he is, and then he would accept in return for a favor at a later time, or information, or to serve him for the rest of his life, or some bullcrap like that. Admittedly, his solution would probably turn Aunt May into a cyborg or something, but it'd save her life, and Peter would accept in a heartbeat. I'm sorry, I still can't get over this. Doctor Strange, you can make space and time play dead and roll over. You can get Peter to consult with the smartest people on the planet all at the same time who have fixed a lot worse problems than this. But no. This is completely outside your power.
Yeah.
There's contrivances to make your stupid-ass story work, and then there's, we're too lazy to think of a better explanation! This is a remarkably simple thing to write out.
So bad.
Doctor Strange wasn't at the Sanctum. He was in another dimension, or you could say he was fighting some other creature at the time. Boom! Spidey wouldn't have had time before Aunt May died to consult with many people, and he would have had no way to contact them. There, done. Oh, no. We need to make it so completely hopeless that it is simply ludicrous. I am calling this what it is. Lazy.
Yeah,
anyway,
and I agree.
The spell has drained Spidey, and Doctor Strange walks away for a minute to get him some water. Peter, seeing the magical doodad that let him take a joyride on the space-time continuum, decides to try screwing around with it on his own. Oh, yeah, that seems like a good idea, Petey. Stay the course.
Make Peter
act
childish.
Gonna end up smeared across 3 different countries in 5 different time periods. And now it is time for the meat of this issue. Complete and utter pointlessness. Using Doctor Strange's little handheld TARDIS, Peter has been sent back in time to the night where the assassin shot Aunt May. The problem, however, is that Peter is stuck in an astral projection. He can't touch anything, and no one can see or hear him. All that he does for 6 pages is relive the events of an issue published previously. Okay, he also briefly fights Lovecraft's line of children's toys, but again, pointless!
Yeah.
It all happens again, and Spidey's astral self is dragged back to the Sanctum Sanctorum by Doctor Strange so he can be healed. There's some more pointless callbacks to a Spider-Man issue from a long while back, and then Strange returns to Peter, who asks why he can heal his wounds now, but not heal Aunt May. Magical cures for magical ills. Ha ha ha! Bull crap! Not only has Doctor Strange healed people before without it being magical in nature, but in one moment in time, the follow-up to One More Day, he heals Mary Jane, who was injured by another assassin.
Oh, what the?
Where the hell have you been? It's been like a year.
On vacation. I've been building up to this since the show began.
Strange tries to reassure Peter that there was nothing he could have done to help May and that it isn't his fault and he doesn't need to feel guilty. Yeah, well, the day I actually believe that, I'll be sure to let you know. You know, if May had died...
There is a Spider-Man that learns this after the death of... who outgrew the death of Gwen Stacy. Is the newest crossover between Spider-Man and Superman. Yeah, Superman confirms that it's not Peter's fault, that the fact that you did what you had to do to save her, and the fact that you tried, and it's not that the burden of her death is not his fault. And that Superman gave him that Superman, being the most hopeful character, helped Peter Parker get out of that funk. That he still does as Spider-Man.
I bet there would be a bell tower and a rifle in your future, Petey.
Makes him stronger.
Dear God, the artwork!
To improve, to never let that happen again.
Doctor Strange's final advice for Peter is that he should go and spend whatever time May has left with her, since her spirit is still there and can hear him. And so Peter leaves and spots the red Mephisto bird, following it for some reason. However, the story ends with a little girl with red hair appearing in front of Peter and telling him that she can change his destiny. Congratulations!
She looks so ugly.
Half your story is finished. and nothing has been accomplished. I can think of like 3 ideas right off the top
I don't
of my
know
head
why
that
they
this
drew
time
that
could have
girl
been
to be
spent
ugly.
doing, like building up Peter's desperation. We could have had an
Maybe
entire
it's Joe
issue
Quesada's
of Peter
art style that he
reflecting
doesn't
on
know how to
May's life with
how to
him,
draw
the
children.
good and the bad. Really connect emotionally and see why he's not ready to let her go. Put him in a position where we can understand why he's so desperate beyond a few lame sentences about how it's all his fault. We could have seen him appealing to people who were in the area instead of giving him some astral projection into the past and to all the people who should have been able to help, or maybe add a ticking clock variable that implied that they couldn't get there in time or something. But no, we are now halfway into the story and have achieved nothing that we didn't already know. But now it's time for part 3, where the girl with red hair appears to him.
Hello, Linkara. You might not be able to make one more day have a point, but I can.
To be continued. Well, that was Linkara's One More Day Part 1, Atop the Fourth Wall. I might have kept this videos a lot longer than I expected because I had a lot to say. How I visualize probably my own passion project, my own fan project of my own Marvel universe, and inspiring y'all create your own universe. That how bad Marvel editorial is. Play Marvel Rivals. They got better lore. Blah 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 blah. I'm sorry if I rambled on, but hey, this is if you don't like me talking. Hey, this is my video. This is my channel. This is what I do. Why did you click here if you didn't expect me to actually talk? Oh, I mean, this is my video, for crying out loud. But I still love you guys. You guys are still amazing. I'm glad you stuck around to hear me ramble and share my thoughts on One More Day. I do not like One More Day. This story sucks. Linkara basically sums it up for me. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments down below. What were your thoughts on this? What were your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on One More Day as a whole? Maybe if I get requested to do part 2 by Nevin Punzel, we'll see. Take care, have a great day, be safe, and most importantly, stay frosty and stay healthy out there. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Let's get out of here now.
You don't understand. Please. Nothing personal, webhead.
He said please!
Huh? 2 of them.
Congratulations, you can count. And they say the school system's failing.